8 years ago, Adam Strunz was raising $85,000 between his personal support and for his organization. And just recently, he crossed the $1 million mark. Wow. Now, this is an absolutely ridiculous amount of money for most people. So go, Adam. Amazing. But we wanted to share this conversation that Adam had with Mary and I and other members inside Fully Funded Academy with you today because we want you to really see how different people are applying the principles that we've shared and taught both here on our YouTube channel, on our podcast, inside of our book, Fully Funded. We're giving you all these resources, all this information, and the information is great, but the implementation, the taking of action on that information is what really moves the needle. And so much of the time we can think that these success stories and this progress and this growth is for someone else. But as you will quickly find out, and Adam will be the first to tell you here in just a few minutes, he never had any professional fundraising, raising support training. He just picked up a book that Mary wrote, her first book, Fundraising Freedom. A lot of those principles are now in what we teach inside Fully Funded Academy. And you're going to hear a little bit of his journey. Now, this is going to be a longer conversation because Mary wanted to go really in depth with Adam. So just dig and mine for the gold. But this is an incredible, incredible story. So I want to encourage you to stay tuned, dive in, take lots of notes. And I will be back at the end of this conversation to share what's coming next. Without further ado, let's get into this conversation with Adam Strunz.
Adam, you were one of the first few to even read my book, Fundraising Freedom, which that was my first book that came out in 2017. That book was, when I wrote it, God was just like, you're going to write a book. And I didn't have any scripture in it. I wasn't writing to faith-driven people. I just was trying to teach a fundraising process, which is the freedom steps that are inside of Fully Funded. And all I wanted to do was just help some good causes, raise more money, and do it without, while having freedom. And the word freedom, for all of you guys, just so you know, the word freedom means to act, speak, and think without holding back. So in your fundraising, I want you to have the freedom to do what you're called to do without like a donor, coming in and changing out your mission or causing you to do some projects that maybe you didn't have intentions to do, but yet you have freedom in the work to just, go execute what God has called you to do. So anyways, Adam was in Minot, North Dakota, not Minot, in Williston, North Dakota. I was just talking about somebody from Minot. It was in Williston, North Dakota. For those of you guys who know my background, I grew up in Dickinson, North Dakota. I was born in Dickinson, North Dakota, lived on the western side of the state for a long time, then moved to the eastern side of the state. So when Adam reached out to me and was like, I got a copy of your book, I'm Williston. And I was like, oh, Adam, you make my heart happy. Like, it's just like, there's, for all of you, when you meet somebody who's from your hometown, from your neck of the woods, you're just like, yeah, like I understand exactly where you are. I understand the people. It just like, we clicked immediately. But Adam, I was so impressed with you because you read the book. We didn't have Fully Funded at the time. We didn't have a lot of the things that I do today built out. And Adam just went step by step through the process and you just started working the plan, correct?
Yeah. You had people might not even know this because we're talking about like 2017, 2018, but you had the 7 steps in podcast episodes, Fundraising Freedom podcast, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so now everything we call Fully Funded, but that's all, to me, newer branding still.
Yes.
And,
that's the introduction of Mike Kim.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so, I just followed the podcast and put and implemented the steps. Just, was looking for a process that I could implement and use. And so I was starting new. For you guys that don't know Wilson, North Dakota, it was super small town before the oil boom. We've tripled in size since then. And so it was an expanding town, lots of people moving town. Our ministry was brand new. I do youth outreach. I'm actually a staff person of Youth for Christ, but our chapter here was new. And it's the Wild West. So we just had to have a way to go about the process of meeting people and getting people into the mission. And so, read Mary's book on a flight to Dallas. And then like, I guess this is going to be the plan. And so, but after meeting Mary and talking more, and her heart and passion for mission and vision and gratitude and maintaining quality and all these clear roles and having resources, I mean, it really was a good match for me. But yeah, that's how I got started.
Awesome. Well, and Adam, I remember, so on the last call, we talked about run your research. And one thing that Adam, I feel like you it stood out to me as far as all the people that I've worked with, that stood out to me was that you were you worked in youth ministry prior to this. So you were used to hanging out with kids, and it was like, you were showing up in shorts and a t-shirt, doing work. And you made some comment about how one day you came in like a polo and like khaki shorts or something, like just made a really, really tiny switch where it's like he elevated his look by just a little bit to look a little. And what happened with the people in your office?
Yeah, it's just a big switch on how I was getting reactions from people, donors, just more respected, and like, oh, I maybe should have done that a little while ago. Just in my area, it's really noticeable when people are paying attention to those types of things, and I think it did make a big difference. But I had to understand the role that I had too, and that was a big part of it. Yeah, that was interesting. That seems like a lifetime ago.
Yeah, it was. It was
Yeah.
because it was like, okay, flip flops, shorts, and a t-shirt to, okay, I'm gonna, upgrade a little bit to some khakis and a polo and maybe some closed-toed shoes. Like, I mean,
Shoes. Yeah.
and for those of you guys who work in college ministry or you work with a demographic, you get so locked into like, I don't know donors because I spend all my time with the people that I serve. That's just very normal. That it's like, well, of course, Adam's hanging out with kids all the time. So why would he not kind of conform to the look of these kids? And then next thing you know, you're like, oh no, you're the boss. Like you're in charge of running this ministry, and you got to start talking to donors and talking to people, community leaders, and you got to present yourself in a way like, hey, I'm actually a professional in the work that I do. So for some of you, it might be as small as just taking a look in the mirror and addressing the fact of like, how are people perceiving me when I'm talking to a donor? And can I just elevate my presentation a little bit if I'm going and speaking at a church? I think a lot of you guys do that already because hey, if I'm going to show up to that church, I need to wear a skirt, or I need to wear a tie, or that there's just different expectations when you go into those places. But this is where you just need to know your donor base or know the people that you're meeting with to know how to present yourself in that way. Anyways, Adam, I wanted to touch on that because it's like, I think just how do I go from zero to all of a sudden now we're doing the whole thing. So Adam, fill us in right now. How much does your ministry raise? And can you give me a gauge on like how many volunteers you have in like a leadership role, like kind of the conversation that we're talking about today? How many teams have you set up through the fully funded plan?
Yeah, so we will be in 24, 25 around $1 million, which yay. But we have 5 what we end up calling community support teams, because the way our ministry is organized, we're in communities in different cities. And so each city or area has its own community support team. We have 5 of those, and we have 4 to 5 people per. And so we have 19 right now that are on community support teams. Then I have 9 people on our larger organizational board that also have fundraising requirements or standards. And then we have 23 others that are event volunteers that pitch in for raising funds, which for us locally are usually dinner events, or how do you say it in your book, galas or something?
Yeah, galas. Yeah, yeah.
You
Or
don't say that.
signature event. Yeah. More of a
Here where I'm at, we're here for the potluck. Like,
Yeah.
that's
Yes.
that's what we did.
Exactly.
So.
Perfect. Okay. The reason why I wanted specifically Adam to talk about this is because some of you have the organization, some of you have the smaller budget that you have to raise your own personal budget. So I want you to see how Adam has used the enlist your team process on a big organization, and he's used it personally. So Adam, you've actually started like in the last few years, you started using the model to raise your salary.
Yeah. So I wanted to get my salary out of what was coming from for the other teams, because as we've grown, I have my own personal supporters and things like that, but I wanted to kind of take my salary off the one of the local areas and allow that to hire more staff. So yeah, I've been enlisting my own team. I have 3 on my personal team. Their requirements are a lot more. I'm harder on them. Their job description and things that I'm asking them to do is double what I would ask a local community support team to do. But I picked the 3 best, with that in mind. And so I have 3, and yeah, so I have my own family budget now, if you want to call it that way,
Love it.
to be a missionary in the team. So that's been going on for 18 months. I'm about 75%. The dollar amount was, I wanted to get a raise, and so the dollar amount was significant to also.
Yeah, love it. Okay. All right. So let me break this down a little bit further. So when you started, let's just say when you got asked to my book, remind me, how much was your organization raising at that point?
85,000.
Okay. Did we hear this? 85,000, and he's now raising $1 million.
Yeah.
I just have to stop and Adam, he's worked really hard. This is since, this is 8 years of moving all the pieces into place so that it's sustainable. And every year you guys can continue to grow and expand. You were not in 5 communities when we first met either.
No, actually, ministry wise, we were in 1 school. So now we're in 18.
You're in 18 schools.
Yeah.
So you went from 1 school to 18 schools. Okay. So for all of you guys, when you're like, oh my gosh, God has given me this vision to do so much more, and it feels so out of touch. Like, how are we possibly going to do that? Adam was $85,000 in 1 school, and, had a fraction of what he makes today in his budget. I love the confidence that comes from you, because you're like, I want to make more. I'm like, and you're doing more, you're overseeing more. God has given you more, so it's really beautiful. So, okay, let's go back into, the early days when you were building out your team. What were your initial thoughts when I read it in my book, or when I told you, hey, building a team, like enlist your team, this is something that you need to do? What were your initial thoughts around that?
Well, I had to overcome the fear of putting somebody out, I think is how I would put it. When you read the book and you look at what it's going to take, and you picture like, okay, I need to have 4 or 5 people that are going to be helping me with this. And I wanted to get to $225,000. That was my initial goal, which we did hit in the first year, because a lot of aspects, but one of them was getting the team together to oversee a few things. I was really nervous. I grew up dairy farming in Wisconsin. Fundraising wasn't my training. I don't have any training professionally in it. I have Mary's book and conversations with her and Mike. That's my full training, and a few other books, like, over the years of reading books, but I'm not a fundraiser by profession. I'm just here to share the gospel. So I was really nervous, scared, and what really transformed my mindset was that I have to go and find some skills that I don't have. And so, Mary, you mentioned a great story about a lady you had that you went out and found, who had some skills that you're like, we need that on our team, no matter what. And so I mostly went out with that mindset. And so I thought, I don't know very many people. I need someone who knows a lot of people. So I looked around my church, the churches in our communities, and found somebody that was in sales. He happens to be in toilet paper sales. I tease about that, but his name is Joel. And he was my first person that I went to talk to. But he's intimidating, very successful person, has a regional presence. And but I got a meeting with him. But yeah, I was nervous and I was scared, but I followed the rules. I got the job description, what I was going to ask him to do, what he would be responsible for. I already knew that he was excited about the mission, what we were going to do, because he had come to, I tried to do, I don't even know if we teach this anymore, but I tried to do like these Saturday brunches with people and just bring people in, introduce the mission. And he had come to one on his own, so I knew there was some interest there. But yeah, I was really nervous and scared that I would be offending him by asking him to help me fundraise. But I was wrong.
Yeah. So what
Um,
happened with Joel?
Joel joined me for 6 years. He was on my initial team, and he himself was about $300,000 over those 6 years that he helped raise. And it's a lot more than that. That's just what I can like exactly attribute to him. But he introduced me to so many people, took me so many places. Like you need to know this person and this person. Opened up a lot of doors. Being very very passionate about the mission and about reaching kids. What I didn't know about him when I felt like God led me to speak to him, obviously, after all this time, but he was selling paper products to schools. He actually got me in talking to the people at schools that I needed to meet because he had those relationships. And so he was a massive player in everything that we did for 6 years. Big person. There's obviously the next people, the initial five that I talked to, I fumbled through it. I didn't do it well. Like 50% of them landed, 50% didn't. I had to go and ask a ton of people. It was like, thinking back now to mostly 2018 is when we really started to grow. And all the people that I asked to be on committees at that time, it's a lot, but um, the job description and what you're asking them to do at least gives you something to talk about and something to hand them and a reason to go through the door. So I think that was a big part of helping me settle the nerves, but I was scared.
So,
And
so what got you through it? Like when you were scared like that?
I sat my pickup in the parking lot and thought, well, no one else is going to go into the meeting. So I got out of the car and went in. Nothing fancy.
Oh, good.
Like prayer obviously is massive, but realistically, no one else is going to love your mission as much as you do. And no one else is going to know what God's asked you to do because in your time, He's saying to you, go and do this. And you know what it feels like to be the person that's like, I don't really think anyone else is showing up to do this. So you kind of have to, that compelling nature of it. So no one else was going to go to that. No one else is going to build a team. And so I think well, I guess it's me, sort of. But
Yeah.
the faithfulness in those small things leads to success in way bigger things that you can't imagine. But yeah, you got to go through the door. You got to send a letter. You got to make a phone call. And yeah, it's recruitment. You got to get passionate about it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. So
yeah.
good. And I just, on a personal note, like for my journey of building out this team, plenty of people have said no to me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like, and you got to think about it, that it's like, you have no idea walking into a circumstance, whether or not, like, did their mom just die? Did they just lose a job? Are their kids getting ready? I mean, sometimes you know some of these things, but sometimes you have no idea. Like, oh, their kids are really struggling in school and they really need mom at home right now, or dad to like be more invested. So when you feel like you're supposed to go talk to somebody, sometimes I feel like I would be, and I use this language, like I would be remiss. Like I would be like, God placed you on my heart and I have to be obedient to at least invite you in. And if you can't do it, if this is not the right season, then I want to at least give you an opportunity to say that you can't. And also know that there's a place on our team for you when time comes that maybe some of these life things change, maybe later on. I don't know, Adam, if there's somebody that you've asked somewhere along the line and then they later showed up, it just wasn't good timing.
Oh yeah, for sure. There's a guy and what's one of the things I think most about is as you go out and maybe you ask other people like, hey, who do you think might be a good fit for us? Stuff like that. A lot of times those people have never been good fits for me. Just because they see people that are like have a lot of influence or hey, this person is somebody you're going to want to know, and those people aren't necessarily fits for what we do. And so that hasn't really worked. But one guy that was among that list that I got in the beginning, I went and met with him, and it actually took almost 10 years of doing what we were doing. And he's like, actually, you guys, I feel like I'm missing out. So can we reset down? But it was after we had grown much larger that he plugged back in. And then his group of people that he has influenced now are really involved with what we're doing. And so that has worked out, but it took, yeah, I mean, it was a no initially. It was a no the second time. It was a no for the golf tournament. It was a no for everything until there was some longevity.
Yeah. And it's interesting how personality wise, sometimes people are like, I want to just sit back and watch, see what you do. And then they start to feel more confident. And they're like you said, oh, I feel like I'm missing out now. Like, I feel like I should be a part of that. So good. Okay. Adam, like, by the way, I posted in here the workbook. And you can see when Adam had made the comment about, I did the job description. I did like, you guys have the template for this. Adam, did you use my template? Did you use the resources that I have shared over the years when you're recruiting these people?
Yeah, so now we've updated them and moved on, but yeah, we definitely used the first ideas from the book, made job descriptions, and that just has expanded and grown because once you have a team, at least for us, once we have a community support team, then the community support team we have is in charge of recruiting for itself. And then they're building their group by other people that they know and other things like that. And so we ask them to suggest other people, and then we go. So they're now in charge of that job description for their own areas. But yeah, we use the template. I just looked through the workbook and like made little adjustments, like, hey, this is a little better wording.
Yeah.
And then for clarity, the biggest thing is clarity. You want them to know what they're signing up for and what the intention is, how long that's for. As somebody that volunteers or needs to be volunteering, if you go to a place and you don't know what you're going to do, it's not fun. You don't know if you're wasting your time or if they really need you. And so, like, tell them this is what we need you to do. This is what we're asking for. Give them the ability to say yes or no. But yeah, I just looked through the workbook and reworked some things recently.
Perfect.
So use
Yeah.
what's in front of you. Like, you don't have to reinvent the wheel, and it doesn't have to be perfect.
Yeah. It
Like,
doesn't have to be perfect. If you listen to the conversation we had with Nora, she said the same thing. It's like take the meat of it, right? Like just take the bones and like just start filling in your own stuff, make it yours. If it, I can see some of you are super creative and it's like, ooh, I want to add my own flair to it. Totally fine. But exactly what Adam's saying, people just want to know, what am I saying yes to? And when you have it in writing, you verbally tell them, hey, this is what I want you to do. But then when you can say, hey, when we're done talking, I'm going to send you over just a 1-page document that has all the details that we talked about on our call today, just to have it in writing. Because sometimes they want to talk to their spouse or they want, and maybe you're asking a husband and a wife to do it together. And, you want them both to be on the same page as to what they're saying yes to. Adam, I'm curious, did you have any pastors on your team?
no.
Okay. I just want you guys to hear that because I think that there's like a natural tendency to think, oh my gosh, these pastors have opened up their churches to us. And so they would be a great fit for this team to enlist your team with 3 to 5 people. And Adam, tell me why you chose not to.
Well, number one is that for me personally, I hadn't come out of the church and to do what I was doing. I just look at it as they're already on mission with something. We can partner and we can do something different, but they have this other thing that they need to be championing. And if we're going to partner well in the gospel, they should focus on that. That just was my personal bent on it. They need to do their thing. I can do mine. If I can come alongside them and help, or they can come alongside me and help, that's fine. But what the expectation of the community support team is that it's kind of going to be their number one, is my hope. Like, this is really what they're volunteering for. What they're going to fall in love with is that there's young people that sit in a school that nobody cares about, but we care about, and we're going to go there and reach them with the gospel. And if they can buy into that, then they're a good fit long term on that team. And I don't want to mix that up with them. Like, they need to hear from God on what they're doing, and then we can partner in other ways. But this
Yes.
is like, it's just a different skill set. It's a different mindset. And different people. There's a bunch of people in the workplace who want to be on mission, and go find them. Like, they're looking for a spot to serve and use their talents of design, of handling finances, of administrative giftings that are underutilized. Use them instead.
Amen. I often tell people that like when I volunteer in the church, the place that the pastor likes to put me is, or the, just the volunteer, whoever's coordinating volunteer work, they like to put me as a greeter, which is always fun. Like I was like, oh, you're positive and you'll welcome people in. And I'm like, and you guys know me and you know my skill set. And so it's just kind of funny to me that I was like, I'm greeting and welcoming everybody into the church, but behind the scenes, like I like help very large organizations with their finances and making sure that they have all the funding that they need. And so it's just like it's an underutilized skill set. And when you mentioned your guy Joel, that he was in toilet paper sales, guess what his skill set is? Right? I mean, sales, marketing, like this is why Mike and I do this, because we're just like, neither one of us want to serve on a board. Like we want to get our feet wet, like we like jump in, tell us, like we want to look at your materials. I want to see your communication pieces. I want to see your emails. What are you posting on social media? Those are the kinds of people that you're looking for, because this is what they do. Like they're really gifted in this in their jobs, and they're just sitting in the pews of the churches, not like you said, Adam, being underutilized.
Mhm.
So really great insight. Go ahead.
Yeah, so for my close team right now, I have the one of my close dear friends now. He's the head of finance for our city. I have a person who owns multiple companies, and I have a person who's a oil field engineer. Those are my three people. And also because those are my people. Like in the end, you find your people too, right? Like that communicate more easily with, you can have a relationship with. There's collaboration, shared mission, and so. But yeah, it's difficult. We do have one pastor now, of that 19, but she's a digital marketing pastor. She runs an online campus, so different skill set.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. I want to make sure that you guys get a chance to ask Adam like your questions. So in the chat, feel free to post any, like what's holding you back, what's stopping you that Adam might be able to speak into. I know some of you guys might be thinking, okay, Adam, great. You oversee a larger scale organization. I'm curious, you didn't have to raise your own salary support, but you decided to, you were in fully funded, then stepped out of fully funded, and then you came back because you're like, I feel like I'm supposed to raise my own personal budget, just like every single person who's here. And so what happened in that, where you're like, I'm gonna do this kind of missionary, in a way that another missionary might.
I feel this leading by God to put more young people into the field. And in order to do that, I wanted to free up money. And God was leading in that, me in that. And also, he was leading me to be more personally generous. And I need to learn more about tithing and giving and being generous. And part of that was setting aside some pride and asking for people to support me personally, not just organizationally. And so there's a lot in that has some emotion to it. But yeah, all those aspects kind of played into it, and things that God was teaching me about what we were going to do as we became a regional organization. So now, as I became regional executive, I don't really have a home anymore. I don't have one city I'm in. And so I was starting like, how am I going to pull money from all over? And this was just the way that God wanted me to do it. I guess that's just the end of it. Yeah. And so that's been a tougher journey, because I feel like I got to visit churches and I have to like have my own materials and like telling my story and my journey about what God's doing in me and what he has for me in my next steps as I continue to train and become, I guess his son.
And Adam, would you say, and I'll grab into these questions next, would you say that it has been easier, more difficult, the same as far as raising funds for the organization versus you personally?
It's been more enjoyable because I'm getting out and talking to people on a different level, because I'm sharing my personal story now. So it's been more personal and that way enjoyable, but it's been more challenging because I've had to encounter this new aspect of it, which is I do feel like I'm asking them to give money to pay my house payment. And that's been a learning experience for me and makes some asks harder. Yeah.
But have you seen, like, because you are raising funds on both level, have you noticed that I don't know, I just want to say like that's so the enemy, like,
Oh, yeah, that's not anything they're telling me. Or I'm not getting no. I mean, it knows that's not the feedback. No, that's totally the enemy working. That's totally just like behind the scenes prayer room things. When I have conversations with people, they're excited. They love what God is doing. They might be experiencing some of the same things. There's a lot more one-on-one ministering, sharpening each other, and so I think that's totally yeah.
I just want to
That's
highlight, because I hear it so many times, like, I could go raise money for my sending organization any day, but make me raise money for my own salary. Like, there's just something in your spirit that just feels so like wrong, that I'm like asking them to pay my bills and I'm asking them to, cover my cost of living. And so how have you overcome that?
um, similar thing, tenacity. Like I feel like that's the superpower of fundraising is tenacity. Like just understanding, you know what, this is how it goes. People are comfortable with it. People know that this is how missionaries get funded. This is not uncommon. This is common. And just reminding myself of that. And if I wasn't supposed to do it, I wouldn't be doing it. And so that's just the mindset I have is just like, but I say tenacity, right? Because you still have to wake up and you still have to go into the meeting. You still have to make the phone calls. You still have to write the newsletters. Like there's still, it doesn't happen accidentally, you know? Um, and so, um, but yeah, it's been different, but it's been a blessing.
Mm, so good. Well, I often have to remind people, this is my little tip for you guys. If you are that person who's like, if I could just raise money for my sending organization, like I'd be fine. Okay, if that is you, if that is like kind of how you feel about it, one of the best like tactics or tricks or whatever you want to call it to do it is to remove yourself
Mhm.
from the story. Like, Adam, as you're going out, I'll just use you as an example, as you're going out and asking for those funds, the easier mental thing to do is say, Adam Strunz is currently serving in this role and Adam needs to be funded.
Yeah.
But you know what? Adam's not going to be here forever. And so somebody is going to fill this role one day. And so I want to make sure that I set the next person up for success by making sure that you are compensated well, that all of your expenses are taken care of, because whoever runs this organization, whoever runs this ministry, whoever is doing the assignment, fill in the blanks, should be compensated well because it's scriptural. Like, it's not because I think they should, it's because a worker is worthy of his wages. And that is something that it's like, I think there's something about just separating yourself from it. And then also removing the fact that they're not paying your cost of living, they're paying your salary.
Mhm.
And I'll just grab Ed as an example. Like, Ed, if you were a tech guy in a business, if somebody just had hired you to work a salary job, like, you'd get a salary. Nobody would say, Ed, I wonder if you're going on vacation with that money. I wonder if Ed bought a car with that money. I
Mhm.
wonder if Ed's spending too much money on going out to eat with his wife. Like, nobody cares. Nobody, it's a salary. You should be, and if you want to care for your elderly parents or you want to give your kids a better education, you can spend that. That is between you and the Lord to make the decisions of how you're going to be a good steward of the money that you've been gifted. But it's not about salary and, trying to explain that to a donor. So I think that some of that has been helpful for people to hear that it's like, how much should someone in this job be compensated?
Mhm.
And whether it's me or someone else, how much should they be compensated? And then with peace and comfort, I know that I'm not ripping somebody off or asking for more than I should be compensated. And you can go from there. So I don't know. I don't know if that's helpful for you guys, but
I would have
that,
never gotten there or even been in the situation I'm in without other people saying, hey, you got to look at this a little differently and grow in this area. And yeah, what do you think it's really going to take to replace yourself? Who's going to have to come and do it? And then also, um, there's other aspects of it, but it was peers and people from my region that came and said, hey, where are you at and where should you be at? And that was really outside forces, because I'm like, I don't know. I'm just trying to, go ice fishing. I don't do any fancy things.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, all right. So Kimberly asked, is there something different that you're looking for in a personal team, or compared to the greater mission-based team?
If I have a younger staff person, there's just I'm looking at that aspect of what does the person I have need, and the staff person who's there helps build the team too, because we're trying to build their team, right? But I do try to look for specific things that maybe I wouldn't need or don't have to have in this time of life, where I might be looking for people that are younger that understand digital ministry, or I might be looking for personally someone that is 5 years ahead of where I'm at, that can take me to where I'm trying to go, or different things. So yes, definitely looking for different skills, according to the area and according to the need of the staff person. And I have staff people that are almost 70 and staff people that are 22. And so wide breadth of different people. And so, yeah, each team is unique to the need of that town.
Yeah, so good. All right, awesome. And then on top of that, she just asked, what are some things, character skills that you're looking for in the team that you gather?
Yeah. Character wise, we have a life of a leader document that they need to have meet the standard of every single person that volunteers with us. And that includes a statement of faith. And so like that to me is going to cover the character thing. Everybody that volunteers has to fill out an application that includes 3 references. And so we do all of our due diligence when it comes to character to the best of our abilities. And so character, very high priority for us. To the extent where I would say our life of a leader document that we use, we could sit down and discuss a few of those things are, I don't know if you want to say extra biblical, but we're asking you to set a standard of lifestyle that's up there. And so we definitely want to have high character. And then, sorry, the second part.
Just as far as skills that you're looking for. Yeah.
Yeah, skills that I'm looking for are, number one, are they passionate for young people, which is what we do? And are they already involved with what we do now that I'm recruiting? I don't recruit anybody that's not already donating at this point. If I was starting from fresh, I would be looking for passionate. God will use the skills and talents that they're given, and they wouldn't say yes if they're not needed. And so, like, to me, I'm looking for passion.
So good. Great. All right. The next one says, we give member care to missionaries. This is just kind of a backstory. We need to raise about $1,000 a month. We have a list of old friends from previous churches or when we went overseas 20 years ago. We've been sending newsletters about our member care of missionaries for about 2 years. And here's their 2 questions. Would it be okay to recruit a current friend to follow through with contacting these old friends? Or these current friends might have friends they know or organizations that could come on board with us personally. So yeah, would it be okay to recruit a current friend to follow through with contacting these old friends?
I would say yes, but you need to bring them in. Like when you talk about training, or when you talk about like what they're going to be having as their task, you should give them all the institutional knowledge that they need that you hold, right? Because they're going to talk to people who've been around for a long time. And so that's just you got to train them in that, and that stands out to me. But yes, definitely, especially if they have the passion and the talent to be able to go and reach out and communicate those things on your behalf, because we're talking about multiplication. So you need more. You want to do everything you just suggested. You just need to find more people to do a little bit and spread out and ask everybody you can. Your mission is that important. So don't leave a stone unturned. Is that the phrase?
Yep.
But like, yes, I definitely would. But training is very important. Don't send them out blind, and have something where you have them do a little bit, follow up with them, and then talk about how it's working, and then send them out again. Like keep going and training. That's the thing. Like I meet with my community support teams once a month, but I communicate with them twice a month. Like, and so like this is not like a one-time training. Like, hey, good luck. Like, we're in this together with a culture that's not transactional. This is missional. And so if we're on mission together, we got to gather and pray, and we go out, and then we got to come back and praise God and pray and go out. And so like we know that, like that's what we do. God's in the business of teaching individual people who are far from him how to gather and be part of his people. And so we're helping people to relearn how to gather. And when we get together and gather, and then we see what God is doing, we're all encouraged to go out and do more and come back and do the same. And I don't know, maybe that's too preachy.
No.
You can listen to the Grow podcast, which we just recorded episode 186. No,
yay. So good. Well, I think back to who are the right people for this team. And just as a refresher, for those of you who haven't gotten into this step and haven't like really dove into it much, we're talking about 3 to 5 people to basically represent your ministry. So they're a voice for your family, for you, for your calling. And they're ultimately just making connections. When people say we got to 60, 70, 80%, and then we staled, it's because they ran through all of their contacts and they don't have any more. Right? Like you went back into the Rolodex and you're like, I contacted people from elementary school. I have no one left to talk to. Like this is what we're talking about here. This enlisting your team is how you never, ever run out of contacts. Adam, you haven't even scratched the surface with these 19 people or with the 3 people that are on your team. Cause it's like, they're continuously meeting people. They're continuously building relationships in their own lives. And you're not asking them to broadcast your mission to everyone. You're just saying, okay, let's be strategic when we get together. What is it? Where should we go? Is there a church that we're missing? Is there someone that would be interested in our mission that we haven't talked to? How should we actually meet with them? So it's like you're being much more, just listening to the Holy Spirit, following God's prompting instead of just what I often say is just like vomiting your mission out to everyone and hoping somebody will say yes. It's like, don't post on social media. You're trying to raise money and click here to give to our mission. It just doesn't work. Like if that's what you've done, it's okay. You did the best you could, but now we're going to tell you that that's not how this actually works. And one thing for all of you who are new to Fully Funded, my background with the American Cancer Study with Special Olympics with the ALS Association, working in that more secular environment, committees and what we're talking about here is so common.
Mm-hmm.
Every single church that you guys have ever been connected to does this. Their kids ministry, their women's ministry, their men's ministry, they all have like a small group of leaders, 1, 2, 3, whatever, and they're making decisions to build out that part of the ministry. So if you want to grow something in your ministry, take this concept that we're talking about here and you implement it in the mission side. We want to build a building. We're going to create a specific group of people who are focused on building that building. It's if Adam wants to build a building versus building his salary, different skill set.
Yeah, different team.
Do you see that? So if there's something in your ministry, you're like, this thing isn't growing. It's just like, maybe it's, distributing Bibles or it's feeding the hungry. And you're like, why can we not seem to get the connection? Well, create a committee. Like get 3 to 5 people who are going to focus in on that problem. It's not by magic that all of a sudden the thing starts moving because you got concerted effort, everybody moving towards it. So if you're on the struggle bus with your funding, it's because you don't have eyes on pushing this mission, this part of your ministry forward. We got to get a handful of people who are all focused on this, give it energy and allow those people to speak into it so that it'll push forward. So I just wanted to highlight that I think sometimes people are like, this is so foreign, and it is a ministry space. Why is this not common sense, right? Discipleship 101, right? All of you guys do this when you're discipling somebody. It's small groups, they work, they're effective. So that's what we're talking about here. Okay, so Jane has asked here, how do you attract younger people to be on your team as volunteers?
You go to where younger people are and meet them. It's not like difficult. I mean, it is difficult, but I'm 45, so I'm still extremely young. I'm just kidding.
I agree.
But I went and played Saturday morning basketball where I knew there was a Christian men's league. I met some younger guys. I went to the college and attended Chi Alpha groups. I went to a different college and went to Crew. And just I assume that they're not going to put themselves up there, so I have to put myself out there and be awkward and show up. And that's how I did it. I know that doesn't work in all of our situations in this group, but for me, that's how I met them. And then I hired some of them to be on my staff, and then I told them to recruit their friends. Like, but in the beginning, I went into their world. Now that's how we go about ministering to teenagers we work with, and so that's just like using the same tactic from the ministry side, which we're good at, into the fundraising side, which we might be more not as strong.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Adam, thank you for saying that, because I feel like you guys are all so good at it already. Like, you're so good at on the ministry side, and what you just said, like transferring that skill set over onto the funding side. It's like it doesn't click all the time that it's like, oh, I got to do the same thing over here as I'm doing over here. If I want a younger demographic that's funding our ministry, I got to go speak their language, go hang out with them, go find a translator, go find somebody who's young, who understands me, get them to translate for me, and they'll bring their friends.
And I think young people, this is one thing I've noticed with younger volunteers, is they've felt an assumption that they weren't ready to lead yet, and God has already had them ready to lead. Like, they're already ready. They're good at relational culture because they're still in that phase. They haven't moved into where you're like me, married for 19 years and have 6 children. That runs my life. I don't have friends anymore. But right, like it really is an approach with them of like, hey, this is what we're trying to do. Could you see yourself helping with that? And a lot of times they're more interested in being part of that, making a difference, than we might give them credit for with the younger people.
Amen. And when you say, like, the comments that we've shared here inside of Fully Funded are ask for advice and you'll get money, ask for money and you'll get advice. And the same goes with this, is when you ask for advice, like you ask somebody, like, even if it's a friend of one of your kids or something, and be like, hey, could you help me with something?
Yep.
And it's just as simple as like, I think you might be able to help me. Like, like, just curious. And then they're like, we're humans. We're like naturally inclined to be like, can I fix it? Do I know someone that could help you? And then from there, it's amazing how that happens. Some really good questions coming in. We're coming up on our time. Adam, are you okay on time for a little bit? Okay. So we'll keep going. And if you guys have to jump off, just jump off. It's totally fine. We'll post everything in the recording. So how much admin time do you find yourself doing, Adam?
Personally, okay, let's do 2 answers. Let's do a 2018 answer, and then we'll do a 2025 answer.
Perfect.
Okay. In 2018, I was doing about 20 to 30 hours a week. As the ministry grew to 200,000, and I was helping onboard and do all our background stuff for volunteers, and we were recruiting a lot, and things were just way different. I did a lot. And I probably did too much, and maybe you should get wife Priscilla on here to talk about how much more I did than that when I was at home on Saturdays. But I did a lot of admin stuff, and I did a lot of keeping, and I did a lot of that background. In 2025, I almost do 0. But that's just because things have changed. We have an accounting firm. I have somebody that handles my personal cell phone, that makes all the calls because I get a lot of calls now. And that's not like, take that for what it is. It's just that I couldn't get back to people the way that I needed to be able to. And so I still do some because I love marketing and I love design and I love doing that stuff. And so it's some stuff I did before I did video editing before getting into ministry. And so like I still do those, but it's more specific projects. Like right now I'm working on a camp brochure because I want to. And because I'm passionate about camp and what that does for young people. And so, yeah, that's the big change. But it went from a lot to very little.
That's pretty encouraging. There is light at the end of the tunnel if you hear that from Adam.
It's never zero if you're
No.
the executive or if you're the leading it, because there's just certain things you just know it and other people don't, or things that come up that you have to take care of. But yeah.
Yeah, really good. All right. One of our students here said, I have a mental roadblock of going out and just asking people I don't know to fund my mission work. How do you get over this mental block, especially a person who is an introvert? I can tell the stories of what is happening, but I feel like I'm begging when I ask total strangers without them first asking what I do.
Yeah, go through this all the time with my team, with my staff. There's a common mindset. Like, okay, first of all, it's okay to feel that way. That's normal. Like that, like I want to say that. But secondarily, you have to ask why you need the people you need. Like you got to understand, you need to be able to clearly articulate to yourself and teach yourself why your mission matters and what's happening with your mission and why you need people. And so I call that gospeling myself. I know that's a made up word, but reminding myself of the mission and what Jesus has called me to and who Jesus made me to be. And this is actually what I teach to my younger staff on why they have to go out and fundraise, and all of them have to do it. And so reminding yourself of who God made you to be and what's happening, and God made them to make money, and as part of their job in the kingdom, what God is asking them to is to give that money. And so you are going out and participating in his economy, in God's economy, the kingdom economy. And so you're not begging. It just factually not. You're putting God's money to work on his mission. And if you believe in that, then tell the enemy to stop and that he doesn't belong where you're praying. Like, and I want to encourage you with that, like big time, because he will discourage you from raising money. He will discourage you from being on mission. And I understand the fear.
Yeah. We lost him. Adam.
There are people out there
Oh,
who
there
want
is.
you. Oh, I'm sorry.
We lost you just for a second. You're back. You're back.
Yeah. So there's
The
people out there
enemy.
that want to, yeah, they want to give to you. They really want to give to you. And so don't listen to that. Listen to the word. And, it doesn't make it easier. But, oh, did you hear me say about being introverted?
No, go ahead and share that.
Yeah, yeah. So being introverted, that that is a recharge thing, not a interaction thing. And it's something I teach to my younger staff. Like, you need to get alone and get alone with the Lord to recharge and to fill up. But interaction with people and comfortability and interaction with people does not have to do with being introverted. That's like, so
I agree.
that's a skill set, or that's like a personal anxiety feeling, which are real things, but you have to work through those. Anxiety feeling, like the butterfly, like I said, sit in the pickup. My worst butterflies is when I'm trying to go to a new school and meet a new superintendent who might tell me that they would fight me rather than let the gospel be brought to their campus. And so, but he doesn't know that I pray. I'm not asking permission. I'm just going and doing what God said. But
So good.
so like I say, like those are things to go through with the Lord genuinely, and get people around you who are your friends and tell them you're going to go and make these asks and have them pray. the prayer team is, you can't get away without it in this area. And so I don't know. I don't know if that helps, but like, come here and say, hey, I'm afraid to make this ask. We can all pray for you and then go make the ask. Like, because we all are going, like, I don't know if you can get away with not having those feelings. Sorry, that was a long answer, but
That's good.
I want you to do it. I want you to do the mission you're called to do, and don't give up.
So good,
Like,
Adam. I don't think people realize either that Mike and I are both actually introverts.
introvert.
And you think like, oh, they're out asking and they're in sales and whatever else. But it's exactly what you said, Adam. I have to be alone and I have to recharge. And, you know, I've spent many days together with Mike, and he's the exact same way. It's like he disappears first, like a while, and it's like he just needs to be alone, recharge, and you don't have any problems engaging in relationships. It's not that. It's just that, yeah, you got to work out the energy of what brings you joy and what brings you excitement and how you actually want to do that. Some people really love one-on-one meetings. Some people really like group meetings. This is like use church as an example. Do you like one-on-one discipleship? Do you like small group gatherings? Do you like going to church on Sunday in the big group environment? Right? Like you might prefer one over the other and just be like, I like really feel like I can grow exponentially when I'm in a one-on-one environment. But when you get me in that group setting, I feel like I kind of disappear and I don't really love the group, worship, and I don't really love that group environment. It's okay.
Mhm.
Go ahead.
Add one thing. Also, it is a benefit to take someone else with you when you go make an ask, because and the people usually don't mind when you're going with. So I have people I'm taking with me all the time because I'm training them. But man, I'm really good at asks when I have somebody sitting next to me. I'm much more concise. I'm much more just like, and then we walk out together and he's like, you did great. I'm like, I don't know. Usually I'm stumbling more. But take, find a friend who supports you and likes you and could help you, understands the mission, and go and make the ask together, or invite two people to come to breakfast and sit down with them rather than just one. One-on-one can be intimidating. Like I can say that, and I do a lot of one-on-ones now, and it can be like awkward if you're like, well, I don't know what else to say, so check please. And so having multiple people there to have the conversation is good.
And this is why the team,
Yeah.
okay? This is why we have this enlist your team component as part of the process, is because when you have those 3 to 5 people, then those 3 to 5 people, one person, so let's just say Adam's on my team, and Adam is like, you should really know the superintendent at this school. And I say, Adam, that's fantastic. I would love to know the superintendent of that school. Could you introduce me? Absolutely. Adam's going to say, absolutely. I'll reach out. How, what would be best? And then I would say, if we could get a meeting together, a coffee meeting. And by the way, many of you guys do Zoom calls. So when Adam says bring them with you, it literally is, here we are, guys, on a Zoom call.
Yep.
like Adam, me, and one other person are sitting in the Zoom call. And now all of a sudden Adam's like, Superintendent John, you need to know my friend Mary. And thank you guys for taking the time to meet. And you're shooting the breeze and you're talking about the things that you guys have in common. And it just changes the environment entirely. I'm going to share one stat. We have one question and then we're going to wrap. So one stat is that someone is 2/3 more likely to give to your ministry if you are connected to someone together. So Adam connecting me to that superintendent is 2/3 more likely to give to me because Adam introduced us.
Yep.
So this is why the power of this team is it's just crazy, the multiplication efforts and the way that it shuts down all of the anxiety of like, what do you want from me? Why am I, like the superintendent would be like, guard up, trying to figure out what's your intentions. And Adam comes in and he's just like, you're great. You're great. You guys are great. You guys should know each other. And now all of a sudden it's like, yeah, you are great. Oh, so are you. And it just changes the entire environment. So I just want to highlight that. Okay. Callan has one question here and then we'll wrap here. How do you keep track of all the different relational needs and the timelines for different committees. He just says they're a husband and wife team. I'm not sure how to handle the extra organizational workload of the teams.
Yes. I happen to use Michael Hyatt's planner. So I'm not very good with digital. And so he has a planner called Full Focus. But that's what I use. And so that has a note thing in the back where I write everything down in lists. And then every Sunday night, I organize my schedule. And then in a bigger phase, I organize my schedule 3 months at a time. I don't go beyond 3 months at a time unless it's an event that I know I'm going to be speaking at, or we're throwing some kind of golf tournament or something. But I just do 3 months at a time and I iron everything out. That being said, for the last year, I've entered all that information into ChatGPT and told them organize my life. And AI tells me they would do it in this order. I don't do it specifically like that, but it helps to get that organized. But yeah, in February, I have 31 what I would call appointments, including the CST meetings. And it's a lot, but I use those tools. And I also have Becky, who helps me, and she'll be like, hey, I didn't see something that just came in. I'm working on a couple partnerships. And so like tomorrow I have a call that I was told about today. And so I have people that are helping me too. But yeah, it is a lot. You're not wrong. But I use paper tool that has like a weekly reset.
Yeah, so good. I love what Michael Hyatt does and everything, but a planner like that is actually not effective for me. So this is where it's like, know yourself, know what works for you. For me, I am like a whiteboard like junkie. So, I mean, and you can go on Amazon and buy a strip of like a whiteboard, and you can actually, like, I have this in my house in St. Louis where it's like the whole wall is whiteboard. And for me, like, there's something about when I'm on a computer and I'm talking, I visually want to see it in front of me so that I'm like, I know the person, I know the details. So by just even having their names on a board and knowing like just them, their husband, their spouse, where they live, some details, like, I mean, it's just so easy to just, get distracted with all the things of life, that you're like, oh, shoot, I need to be praying for that person, or I need to be, I need to reach out to them because, oh, I bet they know somebody who could help me with this problem that I'm dealing with. So anyways, I love that you have a planner. Everybody has a different way of doing things, but just whatever is going to work best for you, do something to kind of just organize them. But think about it. We're talking about 3 to 5 people. It's not that many people, and they're going to constantly be in your mind because they're the ones that are doing ministry with you. So you're going to be emailing them or texting them, and you're going to do life together.
Yeah, and I definitely use texting. Number one, above and beyond for communicating. Texting is the biggest benefit to me, because then it tracks everything, in your communication you've had. The other side of it, I don't separate personal and ministry when it comes to my calendar or my time or my planning. So like going to my son's basketball tournaments, or my daughter's taking my daughter to weight training, or attending ballet recitals, I plan everything as though it's the same. That's been a big benefit. I didn't do that at first. I would consistently miss work things or be late for work things and miss family things. Once I just said, I am one person with one life, it was hugely beneficial to me. And then I felt okay, like, nope, I'm coaching 4th grade basketball girls right now, which is the total, learning lifestyle. Then I can't do anything on Tuesday and Thursday nights, with what I do with my work. So becoming one person was good. Yeah.
Yeah. So good. That's great advice. And the whole work-life balance thing, that's nonsense, right? It's
Yeah,
life balance, life, just do life. And besides that, you guys, it bleeds into everything. Adam's at the 4th grade basketball, game, and, so-and-so, his donors are sitting in the room. It's like you're doing life with your people. So, and I think that that's one of my favorite things about you guys is that you do your very darndest to make sure that people are people, and that you don't treat donors different than, everybody else that's in your life. And that's a beautiful gift. And when you're saying, I'm praying for you, and you're honest and genuine, and you're praying for them, and you're not praying that for them because you hope that they'll write you a check. And then when they turn around and write you a check because you're just being you, and you're like, oh my gosh, they gave me money and I didn't even ask them to give money. Imagine that. Because we're doing life together, and that's really beautiful. So shout out to Beth, who said during this call, the name of 3 people came to mind, and I wrote them down, asked them to be on my team. Yeah, Beth. That's what I'm talking about. Okay. All right. If you're still with us here, which we do have a good number of you guys with us, in the chat, will you share with us, do you feel better about building out your team, enlisting your team, contacting a few people, understand it a little bit better? Give me a yes or a no if you're still like, I'm still in trouble, but that's fine. So yes, from Colin and Dave, much better, really helpful. Awesome. Huge thank you, Adam. I mean, it's always fun for me to watch somebody from the side, just from the sidelines, to see like how things have pieced together over the years. And Adam, we've known each other for 8 years now. And I mean, just really cool to watch him step into his calling. And that's what I think for all of you guys, when God gives you such a big vision, you're like, how the heck am I going to do all this? I don't even know how to raise money. It's like you just take it one step at a time to start. I can't do it by myself, so I'm not going to even try. Like, let's just drink the humble Kool-Aid. That it's like, I cannot do it by myself. God, you're going to have to bring people around me to do this. I don't know who they are. I don't even, like, maybe there's one person and he, go reach out to them, have a conversation, see if it's even a fit. But if they say no, just know that movement is getting you closer to who God wants you to have on your team through all this. Adam, any last thoughts before we wrap? Otherwise, we'll pray, let you guys run.
The only thing we really need to talk about is be thankful, consistently celebrate the impact, and do it publicly and privately. Like when you celebrate with the people that are helping you with this, like, yeah. Yep. Like, don't forget to celebrate.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's really great advice. If you guys know, you cannot have 2 emotions at the same time. So you can not have gratitude and fear at the same time. So if you have a posture of gratitude and thankfulness, you cannot be in a fear state. So if you sense yourself leaning towards fear, shift your thoughts over to God, thank you for giving me the opportunity to do this work. God, thank you for, already bringing the right people into my path. Thank you for already funding our ministry to the extent that you have. I believe that more is to come. You cannot be in a fear state. So that's just something that I've learned over the years, that it's like, focus on celebration. He didn't have to give us that $5 gift. We got a $5 gift. Let's celebrate, and go from there. But anyways, you guys are doing really, really great work. Continue to work through the steps inside of Fully Funded Academy. That workbook is a resource to you. Mike and I have tried really hard to give you all of the templates, the resources, so that you can just copy and paste to get started. If it doesn't feel authentic, if it doesn't feel like you, modify it. But I'm telling you, what's in there works. So you don't have to modify it. But if you want to, you're welcome to, because obviously I want you to follow God's prompting and not, Mike and I are not. We're human. We're just human. We're just here to support you in this. So anyways, Adam, I would love it if you would pray us out today, if you don't mind.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome.
Heavenly Father, as we come before you, you know us, Lord, and those of us who are here, we want to do what you've asked us to. We want to do it with the talents and the passions you've given us, and the abilities you've set before us. I just pray, Lord, you give us a mindset for gathering your people together to help the missions move forward. And Lord, I pray that as things go and as things grow, we would just give you all the glory for that, that we would share well the stories of what you're doing in people's lives. And I pray, Lord, we'd stay faithful in the small things so we could give you glory in the big things. And help us, Lord, to stay connected to you and to spend the quality time with you we need so that we can have longevity in what we're doing and that we can see your fruitfulness happen. Um, and I thank you, Lord, you've given us a calling, you've given us purpose, and you've given us a reason to pursue lost people and to serve people that are in the margins and underprivileged. And I pray, Lord, you just help us to stay energized to do that. And as we go today, I pray you work in Jesus' name.
All right. I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Adam Strunz. Just so much inspiration, so much insight, so much encouragement. I hope you were able to glean some of that for yourself in Adam's journey and his story. And again, if you'd like to join us inside Fully Funded Academy, just visit fullyfundedacademy.com. We're open year round. I'll reiterate at the risk of repeating myself, it's not just the information that will help you move the needle, it's the implementation, it's the taking of action on that information that moves the ball down the field. And it's one of the reasons why we coach and we have Fully Funded Academy built the way it is. We meet live every 2 weeks each month, live calls just like this. We all gather together. Of course, you have all the course material that you can go back to at any time, more like a content library and resources that you can pull. We have templates for emails, templates for social media, templates for reach outs, live fundraising events, you name it. It's all in there. If you're not able to commit to live coaching calls yet, at least go pick up our book, Fully Funded. There's a reason it's a best-selling book. There's a reason why so many people have purchased that book and invested time and energy into learning the information there and taking action on it. You can find it on Amazon. The link is in the show description below. And you will also be able to get a free workbook that accompanies the book, completely free. You don't actually even need to buy the book to get the workbook. You could just go to fullyfundedbook.com and download the workbook there and work through the steps yourself. We have found, our members have found, that it's just way easier, way more encouraging, a lot more great energy around doing it together inside Fully Funded Academy. So we got a couple of options for you to get involved, a couple of options for us to work with you. Fullyfundedacademy.com. Meet every 2 weeks live, and you get access to all the videos in the content library. Or you could just go at least start with our book, Fully Funded, and you can find that on Amazon anywhere. All right. So on the next session, I'm actually going to interview Mary. We're going to have a conversation between the two of us and just kind of share a little bit about what she's seeing inside Fully Funded Academy, what trends that she sees coming. And we really try to put you first and share these insights and share these stories like we've done with Adam and on the previous video with Nora. But I also want to showcase Mary here so that you get to know her a little bit better and can connect with her a little bit more, because she really is the heart behind what we do. She's the one who has this vision and this drive. We make a great team. I feel like we're peanut butter and jelly, and so here the next time the jelly's gonna interview the peanut butter. I don't actually know which one we are. So I just want to thank you for tuning in today. Again, hope you find a lot of encouragement and insight. And if you enjoyed this video, please hit like, leave a comment. We read and respond to every single comment on these videos. And even better, let someone know about this channel, about what we're doing here on YouTube. It really helps us get word out to help other missionaries, to help other ministry leaders raise money so that you can continue to do what God has called you to do. That is our vision behind what we're doing. So thanks for tuning in. Till next time, God bless. See you soon.